Most wildernesses tell stories because people endure them. But Labrador's haunted barrens hold warnings few dare to witness. An interior so vast and empty that more than 20,000 lakes vanish into tundra, where the tree line simply ends. For centuries, Inu and Inuit traditions spoke of lands that watch, places not to be crossed, and presences that discourage return. The question is, what keeps outsiders and even locals away? Stretching across nearly 300,000 square kilometers, Labrador's interior is a world defined by absence. The land rises into broad, treeless plateaus where the forest simply stops, replaced by tundra that rolls on for hundreds of kilometers without break. More than 20,000 lakes scatter across this region, some larger than entire cities, others hidden in folds of rock and muskeg, most unnamed and unmeasured. Rivers like the Churchill cut through the barrens for hundreds of kilometers, carving channels that few have ever seen. The silence here is not just the absence of people, it is the sound of wind over stone, of ice shifting in the cold, of water moving beneath a crust of snow. With a population density of less than one person for every 3 square kilometers, witnesses are rare by design. There are no roads into the heart of the barrens, no permanent settlements, only the endless space between points on a map. In this place, distance is not measured in kilometers, but in the days it takes to cross from one horizon to the next. Somewhere north of the tree line, the world changes. The dense boreal forest gives way to tundra, and the ground itself transforms into ancient scarred bedrock of the Canadian Shield, exposed after millions of years of wind and ice. Here, the land is neither fully forest nor true Arctic, but something in between. Maps start to thin as one moves inland. Place names, so common near the coast or along rivers, become rare, then vanish altogether. The few that remain often refer to features rather than settlements: an unnamed lake, a ridge, a stretch of muskeg. The sense of crossing into another kind of space is unmistakable. The hard Precambrian rock underfoot is older than any memory, older than the first human step on this plateau. In such regions, the absence of names and stories is not a sign of emptiness, but of a place that resists being claimed or fully known. These are landscapes that have always stood just beyond the reach of ordinary travel and ordinary explanation. For the Inu and Inuit, Labrador's interior is not empty. The land itself is alive, and its awareness shapes every journey. Elders teach that certain lakes are never crossed, even if the ice looks safe. Some routes are abandoned, not because of distance or weather, but because of what is believed to watch from the far side. These are not tales for entertainment. They are protocols handed down through families, practical instructions for survival and respect. A ridge might be avoided for generations, its name quietly left off maps, its story spoken only in private. Travelers are taught to greet the land, to notice subtle signs, and to turn back if a place feels wrong. In some families, these teachings are as binding as any law. Ignoring them is not just a personal risk, it is seen as a disruption to the balance between people and the land. The warnings are clear. Not every place welcomes a visitor, and not every presence wishes to be seen. Stories from Innu elders speak of figures in the interior unlike any ordinary person. These beings are described as tall, much taller than any hunter, and powerful. They move alone, or sometimes in pairs, and they remain at a distance. They do not call out or make noise. Instead, they watch in silence, appearing suddenly on a ridge or at the edge of a clearing, then vanishing as quickly as they appeared. In accounts collected over decades, these figures are never named or classified. They are simply there, part of the land's memory. Some stories connect them to hunters who never returned, or to camps where gear was found scattered and food taken, but with no sign of animal tracks. In places where the ground is soft enough to hold a print, people have found footprints said to be far larger than a human's, spaced too widely for any normal stride. Elders warn that such encounters are not to be discussed lightly. The presence of these beings is a reminder not every part of the Barrens welcomes visitors, and not every absence is empty. Far from any settlement, Labrador's interior lakes hold their own kind of mystery. Many have never been measured for depth, and even government survey teams working in the brief Arctic summer have left entire chains of water uncharted. Limnologists estimate that over 70% of the region's lakes remain without a single recorded depth. Some are known only by the shape they carve into the plateau, or by a story attached to their shoreline. In these places, travelers and researchers speak of odd disturbances, long dark shapes moving just beneath the surface on windless days, sudden waves that rise and vanish without warning, and the echo of something large slipping through the water after midnight. Inu and Inuit accounts describe swimmers with backs so long they seem to bridge the distance between islands, seen only in moments when the water is perfectly still. Nights on the ice bring sounds that travel for kilometers, splashes, groans, or what could be the slow movement of something unseen beneath the frozen surface. These lakes, empty of people, hold secrets in their depths that no one has yet recorded, and perhaps never will. Storms on the Labrador Plateau bring more than snow and wind. Inuit accounts passed quietly among families speak of figures glimpsed at the edge of vision, human shapes standing just beyond the reach of clarity, seen only in the swirl of whiteouts or the half-light near abandoned camps. Travelers describe a presence that lingers in the periphery, not attacking, not speaking, simply watching. In these stories, the figures vanish as soon as anyone moves closer, leaving behind only footprints in drifting snow that are quickly erased by wind. There is no sense of threat, only the persistent feeling of being observed by something that does not wish to be known. Elders warn that such sightings are not to be chased or confronted. These are moments to be noted and respected, reminders that the land itself can become aware of those who cross it. In the silence that follows a storm, the question remains, who is watching and from where? Missionary diaries from the late 18th and 19th centuries record a quiet but persistent unease among those sent inland. Moravian missionaries, dependent on Inu and Inuit guides, often found their routes abruptly changed when guides refused to cross certain lakes or enter stretches of plateau. The journals mention camps broken down in the night and journeys halted without explanation, the only reason given in a few spare words by a guide: "Not there." Over time, traders and explorers wrote of the same patterns: detours taken, supplies abandoned rather than risk a forbidden place. Outsiders began to adopt the caution of those who knew the land best, marking their own maps with blank spaces and question marks where stories, not roads, determined the path. By the 1950s, radar stations and military outposts dotted the northern shield, their antennas and floodlights standing alone against the tundra. Duty logs from these sites catalogued the routine: weather, equipment checks, the occasional false alarm when wind or drifting snow triggered a sensor. Personnel described the isolation as a constant presence, a pressure felt most sharply during long winter nights. Some recalled alarms sounding for movement at the edge of the perimeter, only to find nothing but swirling snow or animal tracks fading into the darkness. In interviews decades later, a few spoke of the uneasy sense that something beyond the reach of the floodlights might be watching, just out of sight. The paperwork remained technical. The unease, unrecorded, belonged to those who kept watch. Across Labrador, the land remembers in names that carry warnings. Hundreds of Innu place names, gathered over decades by community archivists, mark rivers, lakes, and ridges with stories of what to avoid and what to respect. Some names are commonly translated as "it watches" or "not safe to cross." Their meanings are preserved in audio recordings and in family memory. Even as official maps erase or replace these words, the warnings endure, echoing in language and in silence. Even now, Labrador's interior remains one of the least explored regions in North America. As satellite maps sharpen and old stories fade, the land keeps its distances and its secrets. Mystery endures not because we cannot reach these places, but because most choose not to return. What would you do?